everyone, and welcome to my Dragon Age recap video. This is the Dragon Age Keep. I have created my tapestry, set it all up, and imported my world state ready for the Dragon Age Inquisition playthrough, which is so exciting. And I thought I would do a nice video with a story so far to kind of set everything up. So that's what we're about to get into today. I have taken the recap audio from Varric telling us the story of Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2, and I've taken my own footage from those two playthroughs and used that as the imagery for this video. So I thought it would be a great way to sort of personalize our own journey that we've shared together instead of using the imagery that's in the Dragon Age Keep. So when there are things that he's talking about, it's from my playthrough, and I think that's very cool. One thing to address, however, is not everything is in the recap, unfortunately. It's not a complete world state. It's not a complete narration because it doesn't address romances. It doesn't address DLC. There's a lot of stuff that is unfortunately left by the wayside, and I mean, that's fair enough. Dragon Age on its own is just a huge story, and capturing all of that and narrating all of that, you'd be stuck with like an hour to 2 hour long recap of all the relevant things. So it keeps it relatively short and sweet to the main points. But that gives me an opportunity to quickly chime in here and just state that there are a couple of adjustments that we are making to our own tapestry here. And there's a couple of points where it's because it's in a little bit of a gray area and we're allowed a little bit of choice in what we want to do here. One of those being in Dragon Age Origins, when we were in the Dalish encampment, there was a choice to set up a romance between some characters, whether you help him out or not. And we didn't help him because we wanted to... I was like, you should do it for yourself. I shouldn't have to do it for you, and then you claim that glory, you know? So we're going to deal with the werewolf thing, and then you'll be able to go and deal with that. So we don't necessarily have an exact concrete outcome for that, but I would like to imagine that what has happened is essentially we cured the werewolves, and then he goes off and hunts his own beast and then, you know, wins her love. So we've said it that they are together. I'm just pulling it up in the keep. It's Kamen and Gaina. That was their names. So Kamen and Gaina, I'm going to just say that we brought them together, and that's something we've put in the tapestry because I think that I allowed him to do his own thing, and I think that's very important. Another thing that I think is very important that we are kind of changing in our tapestry for Dragon Age 2 is our romance. Now, what has happened with Isabella during our playthrough is there was a scene where we have definitely pursued the romance path, but we didn't go all the way with it, and it ended up being like converting into more of like a sexual tension friendship thing. And something I really like is it allowed a little bit more of a role-playing freedom with that relationship, that we didn't go full on into like, we're together and we're going to hold hands and go off onto the sail the seven seas together. But what happens is there's definitely some energy there. We've obviously changed her as a person. We helped her out. She returned the Tome of Kuzlin. Like, she was with us at the final battle and talking about how she wants to, you know, me to be on her ship as we go out after things are said and done. And something that I really like about that is it allows relationships to blossom. It allows there to be some connection after, you know, we deal with the whole tensions between the mages and the Templars. So I have actually set it in the tapestry that the romance was with Isabella instead of it being like no romance or like, you know, something like that. So I've made some adjustments to my own story in my own head of how it'd like to go, as I can imagine there being a re-blossoming of a romance after, you know, when the champion goes off and leaves Kirkwall and all of our companions have eventually separated from him in one way or another. I like to think that Hawke and Isabella are on a ship with a crew just getting up to some fun, you know? So those are the like main adjustments that I've made to the tapestry that are not necessarily concrete in the playthrough itself. Outside of the decisions that are not contained within the recap itself, like the DLC stuff, the important things to note, if I go back, is we kept the architect alive. We went through the mirror with Morrigan, which was our romance love interest from Dragon Age Origins. This is a very important thing that isn't even included in the recap, is we had the old god baby with Morrigan. The Warden is alive, and he went through the mirror with Morrigan at the end of the Witch Hunt DLC. So that is a crucial thing. And then in the Legacy DLC, we sided with Larius, which is the option here, and that we found Malcolm's will as well. So those things are also important to note. And I think that about covers like the important points from the DLCs, because those are like the big DLC like events. And without further ado, I would now like to present you with the story so far of the Mapocolops Dragon Age journey, which will also end this video with the Dragon Age Inquisition prologue, which is found in the Keep as well, and that will set the stage for the Dragon Age Inquisition experience. So thanks so much for listening to my ramble. Sit back and enjoy the story so far.
If you believe the stories, mankind's pride gave rise to the Darkspawn. Countless in number and toxic to all life, Darkspawns search endlessly for an archdemon. When they find one, Darkspawn armies surge up from their corrupt barrows beneath the ground, and a blight begins. Grey Wardens are the only warriors capable of destroying an archdemon, and history always honors the one who sacrifices all to kill the beast. In the fifth blight, the Warden was the hero of Ferelden, a casteless dwarf from Orzammar. Branded by the unbending rules of Orzammar society, the hero was forced into a life of crime. Duncan, a Grey Warden, found and recruited the resourceful dwarf into the Wardens. The allied Ferelden and Grey Warden forces met in Ostagar, where King Kaelin's armies and a host of Wardens gathered, ready to destroy the Darkspawn. But valor turned to despair as Loghain betrayed his king. Kaelin's forces were slaughtered, and the South was lost. The hero, now a full-fledged Grey Warden, survived with the aid of Flemeth, the mysterious witch of the wilds. Joined by Flemeth's daughter, Morrigan, and a Grey Warden named Alistair, the hero set out to build an army strong enough to abolish the Blight. With the traitorous Loghain now seated on Ferelden's throne, the Warden sought help from the influential Arl Eamon of Redcliffe. However, they arrived in Redcliffe to find the town under siege. As each night, undead rose in waves and assailed the battered village. With the hero's help, the people of Redcliffe stood fast against the undead horde. The Wardens reached Arl Eamon's castle only to find the Arl lying at the edge of death, and his court fallen into madness. To save his father's life, Eamon's young son, Connor, had made a deal with a demon and quickly fallen victim to its possession. The hero intervened, freeing Connor from possession and breaking the demon's hold over Redcliffe. But deals with demons are never straightforward. The demon agreed only to save Eamon's life, not restore him to health. Arl Eamon needed a miracle to recover. The hero located an urn containing the sacred ashes of Andraste, which were said to cure any ailment. The urn was protected by ancient traps, tests of will, and a dragon-worshipping cult that wanted to twist the urn's power to its own ends. The urn remained pure, but mysteriously disappeared after the Wardens departed. Only the temple dedicated to it still stands. With a pinch of the ashes, the hero restored the Arl to health. Informed of Loghain's treachery, Eamon swore his political and military support. The circles of Magi are bound by oath to aid the Grey Wardens in times of blight. However, Lake Calenhad's tower could offer little help. One of its mages, Uldred, had become possessed by a pride demon and was twisting other circle mages into abominations. The hero fought to the top of the tower and defeated Uldred, saving the remaining mages. Grateful for their lives, the mages joined the Warden's army. The allies gained at the Circle were not the only soldiers to join the Warden's forces, however. Dalish elves don't usually make alliances, but even deep hatred can be set aside in the face of oblivion. An ancient curse was destroying Ferelden's largest Dalish clans, turning the elves into werewolves. Zathrian, the clan's keeper, claimed that the cure required the heart of the great wolf, Witherfang. Years before, Zathrian himself had afflicted a group of humans with the curse that now ravaged his clan. As long as he lived, the curse endured. The hero freed the werewolves from the long-standing curse, and the Dalish joined the Warden's forces. Blights may happen hundreds of years apart, but the dwarves who live below the surface of Thedas fight Darkspawn every day. No one is better schooled in battling Darkspawn than the warriors of Orzammar, except perhaps their allies of old, the Grey Wardens. The hero arrived in Orzammar in the wake of King Endrin's death to find political factions fighting for control of the dwarven capital. Only the vote of a venerated paragon could break the deadlock to elect a ruler, and order the dwarves to honor their Grey Warden treaty and join the battle against the new Blight. The hero set off to find a paragon named Branka, who had disappeared into the Deep Roads in search of a legendary artifact, the Anvil of the Void, created by the renowned smith Caridin to forge mighty war golems. The hero helped Caridin destroy the Anvil of the Void, along with the dark secrets that could trap a living soul inside a mechanical construct. The hero emerged from the Deep Roads with a master-forged crown to bestow the Paragon's favor upon whichever rival candidate would be crowned king. Balin, the youngest son of King Endrin who was suspected of foul play, or Haramont, the aging traditionalist backed by the Dwarven Assembly. Balin followed his father to the throne. He leads with a ruthless but progressive hand, seeking to re-establish ties to the surface kingdoms. With Dwarden's strength now bolstering the Warden's army, the hero had to deal with Loghain so Ferelden could stand unified against the Darkspawn before the Blight swallowed the world. The kingdom of Ferelden stood divided. While some nobles supported Loghain's regency, others condemned his inaction against the Darkspawn. Civil war brewed, and Arl Eamon called a landsmeet in hopes of curtailing the conflict and removing Loghain from the throne. Alistair ended Loghain's life in the name of justice for the Wardens who died at Ostagar. As the Warden's united army massed in Redcliffe, the Darkspawn overran Denerim, laying siege to Ferelden's capital city. The hero's army fought valiantly through Denerim and broke the Darkspawn siege. On Fort Dracon's highest tower, the hero's strongest allies fought alongside the Warden in a final heroic battle against the massive Archdemon. The Archdemon was killed without the sacrifice of a Grey Warden's life. With no Archdemon to lead them, the Darkspawn scattered. Most fled underground, still teeming in number and always seeking a new Archdemon to awaken. The shattered kingdom of Ferelden embarked on a long journey to recovery. In the Blight's aftermath, strong leadership was crucial. Honora McTeer, daughter of Terran Loghain and widow of King Kaelin, assumed the throne of Ferelden after the Fifth Blight was ended. Ferelden still stands, as obstinate and resolute as the Dog Lords ever are, but the events of the Fifth Blight loom over it as the nation rebuilds. For people across Thedas, legends of the hero of Ferelden remain the nation's brightest beacons of hope during its darkest times. It all began in Kirkwall, the fall of Knight Commander Meredith, the Kunari Uprising, and of course, the Chantry's destruction and the onset of Mage Rebellion. one person always stood amidst the swirling chaos: Hawk, the champion of Kirkwall. The Hawk family fled Lothering, refugees from the Blight. Leandra, mother of the champion, and siblings Bethany and Carver hoped to find refuge at her family's estate in Kirkwall, far to the north. While Hawk had no magical abilities, the champion was at the heart of events that ultimately led to the Mage Rebellion. The Hawks escaped the Blight with the help of Aveline Valen, a warrior and family friend. It's said that the family was also aided by Flemeth, the notorious Witch of the Wilds. Hawk's brother, Carver, never reached the Free Marches. He was killed by Darkspawn while protecting his family. The family's first years in Kirkwall were difficult. Leandra's brother Gamlin had lost the family fortune. The Hawks lived in poverty, forced to indenture themselves in return for entrance to the city. To pay off the debt, Hawk was forced to work for a gang of smugglers. All the while, Hawk and Bethany did their best to hide Bethany's magic from the Templars. Opportunity eventually struck in the form of a dwarf named Bartran Tethras, who was planning an expedition to the Deep Roads. It was a long shot, but with gold gained from the expedition, Hawk could free the family from its criminal creditors and further Templar scrutiny. Hawk met a rogue Grey Warden named Anders, who possessed detailed maps of the Deep Roads. These maps were crucial to the expedition's success. Once Hawk obtained them, everything else fell quickly into place. Afraid to lose another sibling, Hawk insisted that Bethany stay in Kirkwall rather than accompany the expedition. Hawk did find ancient dwarven treasure, but the group also stumbled upon a statuette formed from a strange red lyrium. Upon returning to the surface, Hawk found Templars taking Bethany away. Her magic had been discovered. She joined a mage circle soon after. The gold Hawk recovered from the Deep Roads brought back Leandra's stately childhood home in Hightown. The Hawks had barely settled into their new home when Leandra was murdered. A deeply sinister and twisted killing. Hawk hunted down Quentin, the blood mage responsible, but could not prevent Leandra's death. Leandra's tragic death was part of a critical problem facing Kirkwall. Rising tension between the city's mages, who felt increasingly oppressed, and Templars, who grew increasingly suspicious of their activities. Adding to the strain, a large contingent of Kunari had also established themselves in Kirkwall, much to the growing discomfort of the city's rulers. After their dreadnought was shipwrecked many years before, a group of stranded Kunari were allowed to remain in a cordoned-off area in Lowtown. As time passed, the Kunari made no effort to return home, and offered no explanation about why they remained. Tensions rose to a breaking point. Revered Mother Patrice, convinced the Kunari were a threat to the Chantry's faith, incited violence between the Kunari and the Kirkwall populace. Hawk knew that Patrice would bring about unnecessary conflict. Though the champion tried to stop her, Patrice orchestrated the murder of Seamus Dumar, a Viscount's son and a recent convert to the Qun. When her crime was discovered, a Kunari assassin killed her. After Seamus was murdered, the Arashok of the Kunari group lost patience with the humans of Kirkwall. They would now submit to the Qun or die. The Kunari struck hard and fast. They took the palace in Hightown and beheaded the Viscount to immediately quash any resistance. Aided by Knight Commander Meredith and First Enchanter Orsino, Hawk reached the palace and stood toe-to-toe with the fearsome Kunari leader. Hawk fought the Kunari leader. The fierce battle resulted in the Arashok's death and the liberation of Kirkwall from its brief occupation. The Kunari quickly withdrew from the city entirely. Hawk saved Kirkwall and earned the grudging respect of the city's Templars, mages, and nobility, along with the title that history remembers, the Champion of Kirkwall. Kirkwall's problems were still not over, however. After Viscount Dumar's death, Knight Commander Meredith took power and blocked all attempts to appoint a new Viscount. Under Meredith's command, the Templars tightened their grip on the mages, planning to suppress what Meredith saw as a growing rebellion. Anders, who spent years fighting for justice and freedom for his fellow mages, saw that the time for negotiation was past. He destroyed Kirkwall's chantry, killing hundreds, including Grand Cleric Elthina. This single act began a rebellion that spread from circle to circle, until all circles of Magi had risen up in defiance against chantry rule. There was no forgiveness for what Anders had done, and he asked for death at Hawk's hands. Hawk fulfilled the troubled mage's final request, and many others died along with Anders that day. Fighting spread swiftly through the city. Some mages rebelled openly, many of them succumbing to possession. Templars turned their swords on mages who rebelled and on those who did not. As First Enchanter Orsino refused to bend to the Templars, Knight Commander Meredith demanded that every mage in Kirkwall be put to the sword. Hawk saved many mages from Templar blades, keeping them from succumbing to possession or the temptations of blood magic. In the end, however, Hawk was forced to strike down Orsino, who had betrayed his own values by resorting to blood magic himself. The battle proved one thing: Knight Commander Meredith had gone mad. Hawk saw the truth of it when Meredith unsheathed her sword, and the red lyrium idol from the deep roads was embedded within it. The blade fueled her hatred and paranoia, as it had for months. After a horrific battle, the red lyrium of the Knight Commander's sword consumed her as she died. Meredith became a statue, her face a frozen mask of horror. Little is known of the champion since that final battle. However, Hawk's story lives on in legend and song. Memories of the indelible changes the champion of Kirkwall brought to the face of Thedas.
And that was my Dragon Age recap with Varric narrating our story, and I hope you enjoyed watching a little bit of a more personalized run through, seeing all of the clips from my playthrough of the two games. It was really fun to put together, and now that we're at the end of it, I did just want to do a quick run through of the Dragon Age Keep together with you, so you can actually see all of the specific choices, because it is unfortunate that Varric can't narrate everything. I actually did go and look on Cameo to see if Brian Bloom was available on there, but unfortunately he's not, because I did highly consider the option of maybe I should get this guy to record my own personalized Dragon Age Keep journey, and that would be a really fun idea for a video, because they could cover the DLC and romance stuff and all of the little details, but unfortunately it was not possible, and the idea was there, and I would love to do something like that, but alas, we have to deal with what we've got, which is just sort of the bare bones recap. But let's have a look at my tapestry, okay? So we've got our situation where we can see all of the different outcomes, and it is really fun to see how certain things can go. So we can see here that our hero of Ferelden, Mapo Broska, is alive and well, and the Dragon Age Origins servers are no longer a thing, so I had to manually create my character to put him in here, and you can go into your files and find the little icon for the character, so you can at least put it in there. So there's our Dwarf Commoner Rogue, and he is alive and well because we romanced Morrigan. And what happens when you romance Morrigan? You have a baby. So if we have a look in our relationships tab, we can see everything to do with our characters. We can see that we romanced Morrigan. We recruited our dog. Loghain was executed. Actually, sorry. This is wrong. Loghain was executed by Alistair. Choose this answer. Isn't this a good idea that we're doing a review right now, just to make sure I actually have the correct things in there? I must not have saved that. There you go. We're in another new world state. Loghain was executed by Alistair. He did the honors. We persuaded the revered mother to free Sten. We recruited Sten. We recruited Ogren. We returned Sten's sword. We recruited Zevran, and Zevran is alive and well. We recruited Wynn. Alistair stayed with the Wardens. The Warden and Alistair were not lovers. Wynn is alive and well. Morrigan had an old god baby with the Warden. Leliana alive and well. And we acquired the Grimoire by defeating Flemeth. Now, something that is absolutely bizarre in the old god baby tab is not only the fact that you can have it with Alistair, which is fine, that makes sense because I think that came up, but the fact that you can have the old god baby with Loghain, that is, weird. Or Morrigan did not have a baby, is another choice. But there you go. Had the old god baby with the Warden. So that was our romance and companions. And then if we move into the prologue, this is a good opportunity for us to do a review just in case I accidentally didn't save and I've gotten some incorrect options in there, like having the Warden execute Loghain. We fed Ostagar prisoner the guard's lunch, and we cured the Mabari hound. And something that's really interesting about stuff like this is you look at the tapestry and you go, how is this going to play out? You know what I mean? How are we going to have... like, what's going on there? You know what I mean? Like, is the Ostagar prisoner going to show up in Inquisition and go, hello, I was fed lunch one day, and just like be just like this random little nod? That stuff really surprises me. Who knows? It's weird when you have stuff like that. We can see that we helped Redcliffe fight, and we helped them prepare. We can see that Connor is alive and not possessed, and that Bella left Redcliffe. We did nothing to help find Bevan, and that is because I don't know what that is. Unfortunately, something that I missed. Something that the tapestry definitely points out is the things that you missed. And you go, don't remember that character. Don't think I did that. We can't do everything, unfortunately. Some things are just naturally missed. We helped Owen's daughter escape, and Isolde is alive. So that's the situation with Redcliffe. Now, if we go back through here, I believe the first thing that we did after Redcliffe was we went to the Circle of Magi, and we can see that we supported the mages. First Enchanter Irving survived the battle because he helped us cure Connor of demon possession, and then we did not agree to Cullen's request. I believe he wanted us to wipe out all of the mages because he was freaking out. Good old Cullen, showing back up in Dragon Age 2. And then after that, we went to, I think we did Orzammar next, or potentially the Urn. But the Urn was not poisoned. We only poisoned the Urn in an alternate outcome to see what would happen, and that's how we unlocked the Reaver specialization. That was really interesting. But then we have a look at Paragon of Her Kind, in which we defeated Branka and destroyed the Anvil of the Void. Balin rules Orzammar. Dagna left to study, so she went to the Circle. We did not encounter Mardi, and we didn't have a son with Mardi, so I think that this is the Dwarven Noble stuff. We could have another child, which is kind of interesting to see, instead of our sister, I suppose. So we do have a nephew out there, and a son, but not two sons. We did say that Ruck died. We proved that the Legion of the Dead is connected to the Noble House. We returned the tome to the Shaperate. We helped Burkle create the Chantry. We helped Zerlinda reconcile with her family. We completed Rogek's Lyrium deal, and we helped Orta join the Assembly. And now, in stuff like this with the Ruck death, it's kind of interesting because you can see that there are multiple things. So you can see that there's people that you didn't speak to, you told the truth, you killed and lied, you killed and told the truth, and then you killed him and said he died heroically. So it's kind of like, it's weird how many options can apply to just one seemingly small thing like that. One very, very seemingly small thing. But we said that Ruck died. And then we did Nature of the Beast. We went to the Brazilian forest, and we brokered peace. We cured the werewolves and killed Zathrian. And then the elves joined us in the final fight against the Archdemon. We said that we brought Kamen and Gaina together because while we didn't help them directly, I didn't help Kamen do what he wanted. I think that they would have been able to meet because they were allowed to, hunt again, and he could impress her himself instead of me doing it for him. So we elected to choose that they have been brought together. We could not help Alora. We returned Dagon to the Dalish camp. We brought Varathorn the Ironbark, and we told Athras about his wife's fate as well. Those were our choices in the Brazilian forest. And then as we move into Denerim, Sir Landry is alive, only because I do not know who that is. I don't think we encountered Sir Landry. We told Ban Sigurd about Oswin. We brought the scroll to Sister Justine. We completed Slim Coldry's crime wave. We helped clear customers out of the Pearl. We handled the Crimson Oars. We gave Alstana Aminoric's ring. We returned the amulet to the beggar. We completed Master Ignacio's assassinations. We helped Alistair find Goldana, except it did not go how he expected at all, seeing his family. And then we sent Marjolaine away. We did not have her killed, and we did certainly meet her, so we elected to have her go away and try and have Liliana go down more of a path of forgiveness. So I guess we'll see if that comes to bite us in the arse later. And then at the Landsmeet, the most controversial aspect of the Dragon Age Origins playthrough, Anora rules. And it is interesting and very cool to see that you can have Alistair ruling on his own, obviously, as the heir to the throne, marrying them together with Anora. You can also marry Alistair and rule if you'd like. Or you can also marry Anora and rule if you'd like, which is very cool to see those decisions there. So that's how the Landsmeet went. And then how the main story ended at the Battle of Denerim is the Warden killed the Archdemon, eliminating and shattering the force that unified the Darkspawn. And it's cool to see that you can also have Loghain or Alistair do it as well. So you could have like this old god baby be born, and then any of these delightful wardens survive as a result. And then we move into the DLC stuff. So this is the stuff that Varric also was unable to sort of detail for us. And we can see that we allowed the architect to live. Nathaniel is alive and well, and the keep was protected, and Ogren and Felsi were reunited. Now in regards to this, I believe you can have a look and see if you protected the keep, or Amaranthine, or both. And we prioritized one over the other because I thought that you could only save one, and we had also focused on the people, like the farmland and everything, to protect those places. So the city of Amaranthine burned as a result. And then we move into other things like the Warden's Keep DLC, which is where we did not drink the concoction. There was a potion on the table that I forgot to drink, unfortunately, so we didn't drink that. You get some, like, blood powery stuff. And then we slayed Sophia, and Avernus continued his research. And this was what was really cool about this, is seeing how in Dragon Age 2, we actually saw a note that was written by Avernus in research that he was doing. So I really liked that they acknowledged his existence. In the Stone Prisoner DLC, Shale is alive and well. Matthias and Amalia are both alive, neither possessed, and Shale was recruited. Pretty easy stuff there. And then the final DLC of Dragon Age Origins was the Witch Hunt. And in the Witch Hunt, we went through the Alluvion. So Morrigan and the Warden went through together. We could have killed her, or we could have gone through the Alluvion. And maybe I shouldn't say killed, I should say stabbed, as it says there, because it is entirely possible that in this silly little story of Dragon Age, that these witches do not die when they are killed, Flemeth being a prime example of that. Now, if we move into Dragon Age 2, which is much shorter, it's just the one page here of the 3 acts, let's have a look at everything that was covered here. We've got our hero, which we were able to import because the Dragon Age 2 servers are online. We have Mapo Hawk, the warrior. And he's a humorous guy. He's pretty funny. He's a humorous hawk. Okay, humorous hawk. And then in our companions, like I said, I have at the beginning of this episode, I've elected to pursue the romance with Isabella in this list. Bethany became a circle mage. Carver died leaving Lothering. We're friends with Varric, and Bertrand was not killed. What I really like about this, however, is what gets really exciting here is you can go, hang on a minute, what happens here? Bethany could have died. Bethany could have become a Grey Warden, and Bethany could die in the Deep Roads. So on the expedition to the Deep Roads, Bethany contracted the Blight and succumbed quickly to its corrupting effects. After contracting the Blight in the Deep Roads, Bethany was saved by Anders' intervention, leading her to a group of Grey Wardens. Bethany was saved and survived her joining. I just think that that is crazy to see that if we did actually ignore our mother's plea and take Bethany down into the Deep Roads, she either dies or gets turned into a Grey Warden if Alistair is there. That is such a significant fork in the road, it's crazy. I'm glad that she became a Circle Mage, so I feel pretty happy with that. Instead of either being forced to become a Grey Warden just because she got affected by the Blight, or she dies, you know? We are friends with Varric, Bertrand was not killed, and Carver obviously died leaving Lothering, so I guess this must depend on whether we are a mage or not, and then we have a warrior or a mage sibling with us. So it looks like Carver can become a Templar instead of a Circle Mage, a Grey Warden, or died in the Deep Roads. So that's also pretty crazy to see that there's a lot of Carver stuff there as well. We can see that Bethany did not die in the final battle. We helped Varric discover the cause of the haunting, but he did not keep the red lyrium idol. We convinced him to part ways with it. We recruited Isabella, and Isabella returned to Hawk with the tome. Fenris died because we were at like 95% rivalry, and if it was 100% rivalry, he would have joined us, which is so wild to me. Meryl stayed with Hawk, and Meryl is alive and well. We didn't approve of Anders' actions at the Chantry, and Anders was executed. We also didn't give Isabella to the Arashok, and Meryl destroyed the Alluvion. You can see stuff in here as well where she either destroys it or did not destroy it. I mean, it's pretty simple. Did she destroy it or not? But she is alive and well. Aveline married Donick. Aveline stayed with Hawk. Meryl's clan was killed. We recruited Sebastian. We didn't make Talus angry, and we didn't kiss Talus. So even Talus from the DLC is in here too. So that is our relationship and companion section of Dragon Age 2. And then in the prologue, we join the smugglers instead of the mercenaries while securing our access to Kirkwall. Very easy decision there, just one or the other. And then in Act 1, we can see that we fought against the Templars. We returned Seamus to the Viscount, so Guinness died as a result. We killed Danzig. Kelda was killed. We returned the cargo to Martin. We told the truth about Ghislaine's wife's death. We solved the mystery of the missing miners. We did not blackmail Sir Thrask. Iduna is alive and well. We sent Fainriel to the Dalish. Kieran was reinstated with the Templars. We defended Katosian from the Canary. And Karas was killed. And that is everything that took place during Act 1, with all of those side quests and the main events. And then if we have a look in Act 2, we did not kill Gascard. Gascard Dupuis was not killed. We did not side with Varnell against the Canary. We didn't side with Patrice. Javaris is alive and well. We didn't encounter Yevon. I don't know who that is, so someone that we missed. Discovered the looter of Hubert's caravans. We did not encounter Lieutenant Harley, so these are two people that we did not encounter. They must have been because here's the thing, in each act of Dragon Age, it refreshes all the maps, and there are some quests you can walk right into, and others that you need to walk around and discover, and you need to scour the maps for them. So it looks like there would have just been some locations we did not have a look at, unfortunately. We freed Fainriel, and he left for Tevinter, and then we killed the Arashok as they had waged war on Kirkwall. And then we can look at Act 3 Actually, before we look at Act 3, we can look at the Legacy DLC, because we kind of did that right in the beginning. Interestingly enough, the Mark of the Assassin DLC is only included in the Talus Companions section and nothing else, which is kind of interesting. We sided with Larius, and we found Malcolm's will. So those are the only two choices for the Legacy DLC. We did not side with the Grey Wardens with Corypheus. And then, in Act 3, Hawk offered to help Nuncio. We let Zevran go. We handed the conspirators to Orsino. We rescued Nathaniel. We reunited Sharaid and Gamlin. We returned Emil to the Circle after he got a little bit excited. And then the woman that he slept with goes to their mansion and goes, "Hey, I'm pregnant. I'm going to become a noble lady." And I just love that she was only using him for that. It's kind of hilarious. We sided with the mages. We gave Kieran to the Templars. And we killed the dragon at the Bone Pit. And that is Dragon Age 2 Act 3. So it's kind of interesting that there's a lot of stuff that does take place in these acts that you feel shouldn't have any consequence or should have consequence, and that they are here or they're not here, and it's kind of bizarre in that sense. But that is the tapestry for Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2. And then we can obviously have a look at the next tab, which is Dragon Age Inquisition, where it looks like our hero is the Inquisitor, but we will not be looking at that, and we've obviously got everything in the menu as hide all of the spoilers, so we're not looking at anything with Inquisition, but we are now going to look at and react to the Dragon Age Inquisition prologue. So this is only available through the Keep, but it kind of sets the stage for Inquisition, and then that'll bring this video to a close, and we can move into the Inquisition playthrough. Let's react to the Dragon Age Inquisition prologue now and see how this plays out.
The Mage Rebellion in Kirkwall was felt throughout Thedas, the news spreading like wildfire. The Templars clamped down in response, but each new restriction only made things worse. Led by Grand Enchanter Fiona, the mages voted for independence. The Circle of Magi would govern itself, without the Chantry and especially without the Templars. The result was cataclysmic. 2 circles were destroyed. Those within killed to the last mage, before the rest fled into the wilderness. Perhaps the mighty Empire of Orlais could have intervened in the war before it began, but that was not to be. Grand Duke Espard began a deadly civil war against Empress Celine, vying for the Orlesian throne. The mages were offered safe haven in neighboring Ferelden, but the Templars followed, and so their battle spread across all of Thedas. As head of the Chantry, Divine Justinia ordered the Templars to stand down. They refused, declaring their own independence. Thus, the war began in earnest. Templars hunting mages, mages fighting Templars. Their clashes wreaked untold destruction, and all sense of order was falling to pieces. Divine Justinia made one final desperate bid to end the war. She approached the leaders of both sides and convinced them to come to a conclave held on neutral ground. With the Chantry to mediate, mages and Templars will talk for the first time since this all began. It is our last, and perhaps our only, chance for peace.
That's setting the stage up pretty damn well. So the Divine Justinia was like, hello, let's go and do some stuff. And then they're like, no, we're going to go kill the mages. Even Orlais is involved in something. There's like civil war stuff brewing at the moment. That's crazy. That's cool. All right. That's a great little setup. So we're seeing that the mages and the Templars been going at it like crazy, but we get to see that there is attempts at peace talks or trying to bring things together, but everything is in absolute disarray right now. Circle is like shattered. Templars are doing their own thing. Divine Justinia is trying to bring people together. Civil war in Orlais. That's really cool. All right. I like that we've been given just enough of like a hook for like what's going on at this beginning of Inquisition. So that was very cool to get Varric laying that for us. So I guess what we can expect going into Dragon Age Inquisition is we're going to have these Seekers. There was Cassandra and Liliana at the end of Dragon Age 2. We've got Varric somewhere maybe. I'm not sure if we're going to have our characters, our two main characters in any capacity, or if there's Mapo Hawk's going to be there, because it seems that they're trying to look for him and they were trying to look for the Warden as well, but they're both of them are gone. Mapo Hawk is on a boat with Isabella at the moment, sailing the seven seas, and Mapo, Broska, and Morrigan are raising an old god baby together. And then what are we going to do now? Do I feel compelled to name our third Dragon Age character also Mapo for consistency? You know, everyone can share names. We have a lot of people that share names in this world, important people. And in my Mapo Dragon Age experience, they're all just called Mapo. It feels weird to change the name now, but I might have to change it to a different name. We'll see how we go. But thank you so much for joining me for the Dragon Age Keep recap, going through all of our choices, and a nice little video just sort of showing us all the moments with my reactions through Varric's narration, which I thought was cool. I hope you enjoyed this video before we get into Inquisition, and I will see you next time.